Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a game I was looking forward to for so long. The first game is one of my all-time favorites, so you'd think that the sequel would have been a massive improvement over the first, fix a lot of the issues of the first game, and then make me happy. Though sadly, it falls short. Don't get me wrong, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is an incredible game. It does so many things right, but the problems it does have range from minor annoyances to downright game-breaking frustration. And somehow, despite all of that, it still manages to be a masterpiece. A disappointing masterpiece. Let's talk about it. The first half of the game is where the mission design issues hit the hardest. Once you break free from the shackles of the intro, the world opens up completely. I personally took full advantage of this newfound freedom by brewing potions for 6 hours straight, grabbing some honey, which is the most broken food in the game, and getting dripped out. With my newfound wealth, I geared up, ready to tackle the story, and then the missions start happening. Now, there are some excellent missions like the wedding, but then the game throws one of the worst missions I've ever played in my entire life right after. You know, imagine this, right? All your gear gone, you're a captive, forced into a stealth sequence with a horribly buggy stealth system. I mean, like, look at this pebble throwing mechanic. This is something I'd see from a $2 game on Steam, but the AI in one of those games might have actually reacted. You sneak up a tower, across a castle, and back again. If you have Master Strike, you might be able to fight your way through, but I didn't have it yet, you know, because I was using an axe and only swords and fists get to use Master Strike. So stealth was basically my only option. Now, what's the problem with that? Knocking people out is incredibly inconsistent since it's tied to your strength stat. And this game loves stat checks. You can try to react to the quick time events, but the amount of reaction time you are given is tied to your strength, which if you haven't put hours of training into, it's gonna be low. Fighting is a death sentence. Your stats are too low. Now, remember how I mentioned that it loves stat checks? Well, the blocking mechanic for enemies is also based on your strength, if they can parry your attack or not. So these random peasants and guards will be able to parry and block everything permanently in combat. You might get one lucky hit in until you just roll a dice and then boom, you get through. No point in spamming out combos as well until you get broken later on in the game, because one, you're going to run out of energy in 2 seconds, and two, they're just going to parry the first hit and you're not going to get the combo out. Enemy AI is ridiculously persistent. Even if you hide for minutes on end, they have no clue where you are, nobody has seen you, they will psychically pinpoint your location like Professor Xavier in Cerebro. Lastly, when you finally get across the first time, you find out you need to pick a chest, but all your lockpicks were taken from you, so now you gotta search for a lockpick. I figured I could wear their armor and maybe blend in, because there's so many of them, but no. Funny enough, they do have this programmed into the game for one of the final missions, but not for this one. Makes no sense. And just when you think it's over, the game throws another near identical mission at you, at the same castle, stripped of all your stuff, except this time, all your stats are nerfed by 7 levels, meaning you can't carry any of your gear, or fight unless you have Master Strike, of course. You have to sneak through a forest patrolled by 50 plus guards, which makes zero sense given how the story just told you that almost all of the guards went to another province in the kingdom, which makes sense, because there was only about 5 guards to deal with when in the actual castle, but now this nonsense out here contradicts that. And of course, don't think about being clever and finding a path around the patrols. The game slaps invisible walls down, forcing you to play the way that they want. It is absolutely frustrating, because these awful missions often overshadow some of the great ones, like Necessary Evil or The Finger of God, which were phenomenal missions. Thankfully, the second half of the game picks up. Missions like freeing the Dry Devil and rescuing Capon and the Italian Job are incredibly fun, and mainly because by this point you're strong enough that you can approach them however you want. The Warhorse will still slap you across the face occasionally with a horribly designed mission, both in story and writing. Like, yes, the town knows Brabant, so he can't go and speak Italian at the court, he needs to kind of lay low, right? But he knows the most Latin, right? So why wouldn't we take him to the legate and he could be the one to translate and speak to the legate? Instead, we rely on Godwin, who already has stated that he doesn't know as much Latin as Brabant. It just seems like an excuse for the horrible chase mission that ensues, where you then have to go sell your horse and buy a faster one, or cheese the mission by using a speed boost and then shooting the legate, even though your goal is to not kill him. This triggers a cutscene that doesn't match your actions. It's just also... Ugh! The story itself is actually really good. Instead of Henry's journey from peasant to knight like in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, this time around, he's already an established, well-built character. Except he's being used by everyone. You're not a hero on a grand quest, you are a pawn in a much larger game. Or, since you're so capable, maybe a knight instead of a pawn. In Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, you were mostly stuck on the good guy path, you know, like, you were trying to become a knight, so you're doing knightly things. You can still rob and steal and do some bad things here and there and make bad decisions on some missions, but nothing really to the level in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, like burning down villages and slaughtering innocents. Oh!
Berghoff sends his greetings.
My God! Guys, I don't think I sided with the right team. That said, there are some weird story beats. Like the whole Samuel is Martin's son reveal. It goes nowhere and serves no real purpose other than if you choose to not save him at the end, he dies like a random emotional moment for, again, no reason. I don't even consider that a spoiler because he barely mattered as a character. But what truly brings the story to life is the acting. Radzig Kobyla and Hanush were already favorites of mine from KCD1.
Of all the bandits in the whole wide world, we run into this pair of scoundrels.
But now, we've got real standout characters that can compete, like Vaclin Brabant and the Dry Devil. All the other performances are phenomenal as well, though unfortunately, all that immersion can be instantly shattered by bugs. And so, speaking of bugs, there are a lot. Not as much as KCD1 at launch, but still plenty. Audio bugs that make people sound like they're speaking from another continent. Visual bugs that make characters either invisible during cutscenes or even like their eyes glow in the dark like an Elden Ring boss. The AI logic is questionable. Like, villagers are much more active in the world now. It's very, very cool and unique how they all interact. And like an example, you know? Villagers will react realistically to brawls when they happen. They'll make comments on the fight. Guards will talk about how they'll let them tire themselves out and then break them up. Everyone's watching it. But the second it ends, though, oh my God, what happened here? A body, a body. What happened here? Like they never saw the fight. It's Skyrim level nonsense. Or you'll watch a cutscene with phenomenal acting.
And he filled me up like a wineskin!
Damn! And then, when you hold somebody back at the end of the cutscene to fight them, he isn't in that room with you anymore. The door's unable to be opened. You're trapped there, reloading until he aggroes onto you from the bottom floor, runs up the stairs, and opens the door for you. This, again, is just another Bethesda-level bug of game-breaking proportions. Though, an AI that has been improved from the first game is combat AI. The AI no longer tackles you constantly, getting a free hit in, and they always keep their positioning back. They have better positioning AI, but the core combat system has its own issues still. I'll start with the improvements. Stances have been reduced from 6 to 5 for swords, making things a bit more streamlined, and Master Strike now requires more skill when you're fighting an enemy. You have to go to the opposite side. It's no longer a single button win. But the issues, because of how bad stat checking is, these are your best strategies. Number 1, you keep running into enemies, forcing a clinch, and you just win the clinch by spamming left click. After you win the clinch, you'll either get a free hit in, or sometimes you don't get a free hit, and then you just run into them and do it over and over again until you take them out. Your second strategy is to keep swinging. Just keep swinging. Just keep swinging and parrying, and then riposte, and then parry and riposte, and parry and riposte until you win the RNG gambling. Or lastly, worst, above all else, is the Master Strike meta. You sit back, wait for an attack, auto parry, and win. That is all you need to do to win. Combat does become fun, but that's much later in the game when you can get juiced up on more drugs than a Witcher and then cut through waves of enemies like a Dynasty Warrior character. Oh, but the gun?
Who the fuck are you?
The name's Lamprecht, and I'm the best swordsman in this whole fucking kingdom.
Cool.
As you're about to find out.
Goodbye. Fantastic addition, Warhorse. Real quick, I want to mention side quests. Some of these side quests are phenomenal and better than most of the main missions in the game. Some of my standout favorites are the Demon from Hell, where you have to go investigate what's happening in an abandoned mine shaft, to creating a replica of a legendary sword from a dead saint. These quests are genuinely fun and often better than the main plot that's going on. Finally, here's some miscellaneous gripes. The quick response dialogue keys are horrible. You know, they're bound to number key 1, 2, and 3, which you typically have weapons on. And so if you misclick, you pull out a weapon, they get mad at you, they scream at you, and then you can't continue the dialogue. And guess what? Wouldn't be an issue if you could rebind them. You can't though. Why? It doesn't make sense. Why can't I rebind this? Mutt the dog is borderline useless, right? And I love him. He was the first quest I went and did to go get him, right? But he is in none of the missions. I mean, both main and side, like, he is disabled. You can't use him for almost any of the missions in the game. It feels like he doesn't exist. And then finally, honey is still OP. I mentioned it earlier. Honey is free. You find it in beehives. It's not considered stealing. It never spoils, and it nearly completely removes hunger. It's like 40 or 50 hunger points, and you just have it infinitely. You go get 30 of them at the beginning of the game, you'll have it for the entire game. So just nerf honey a little bit. Despite everything, the frustration I felt in the worst stealth sections I've ever played in video game history, the bugs, the combat jank, KCD2 is still a must play. But I cannot in good conscience give it anywhere near a 10 out of 10. So instead, it is a masterpiece. But it is also disappointing. It is a disappointing masterpiece. Anyway, let me know what you think of the game in the comments. You know, I'm kind of curious if people really had all the same issues I had with it. And thank you for watching. Have a good day.